does, that that's generally the best way to do it, if you can get it to work. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
All set. Hey there, welcome back to High Strangeness. I'm Connie Willis. You can give us a call at 1-800-STRANGE. We'd love to hear from you, and you can also ask some questions with the guest that we have for today. And today, who we have is Mr. Lyn Buchanan, one of my more favorite people in this little world. Lyn Buchanan, how are you?
Oh, just fine. How about you?
I'm doing good. I am very excited about being able to talk to you today. I've been lucky enough to meet this man and really learn a lot from him. But for those of you that don't recognize that name, he is a remote viewer. He was, well, you can explain this, but was George Clooney in Men Who Stare at Goats, was that like you? Did he play your character, Lyn?
Well, he played a sort of a collection of characters. The movie starts out, you wouldn't believe how much of this is true. And that's absolutely right. Most of the movie was true, except the road trip theme of the whole story, him going to Iraq and all. But almost all of the events that happened in there were true.
Well, what?
And yeah, he played me, and the character Lynn Cassidy was largely me, but it had some other events that happened to other people sprinkled in with it so that they wouldn't have to have such a big cast of characters.
Ah. Well, I know he certainly has your looks, so
Yeah.
definitely.
Have you ever noticed how when an actor plays a real person,
Yeah,
the actor always looks so much better.
can't lose with George Clooney, that's for sure. Well, basically, what we could call him is a psychic spy. That's how most people would know people like Lyn, the remote viewers. And we're talking about the top secret program years ago that lasted about 20 years. Lyn, can you just tell us a little bit more about that? And I know I hate to use the word psychic because we don't want to put the remote viewer people into your category of the, psychic-y kind of people.
Yeah. When Hitler lost World War II, the other nations came in, divided the spoils. Well, we got nuclear physicists and rocket people and all that. Russia was interested in a project that Adolf Hitler had been developing called Dr. Grunbaum. And in that project, he was interested in Jewish mysticism. He believed very strongly, the Adam and Eve story, that there was a tree of life, and that if he could only find it, he could live forever. And so that was why he was going out and trying to get the Ark of the Covenant and the Holy Grail and all this. One of the things he wanted to get was the tree of life. So anyway, the Russians were interested in mind control, and this Dr. Grunbaum project had been very heavily weighted toward that. So the Russians took it. They started developing it, and in the late 60s and early 70s, the Russians were getting our secrets, and we couldn't find out how. They didn't have agents here or anything, and so we found out that the Russian mind control people were actually able to take psychics, sit them down, and in a very controlled manner find information from anywhere on the earth. Well, the U.S. said if Russia has it, then we have to have it too. And so they started a project that went under a bunch of different names, but basically what they were doing was developing soldiers within the U.S. Army who could send their minds anywhere in the world under strict control from the viewers themselves, and find any information that they wanted in both space and time. And the military had that project for going on to 18 years, during which time they spied on just about every every country and every military out there, and got the technique developed to the point where they could even draw the floor plans of a building where the hostage was being held, or even tell you what was in a document that was locked in a safe, some secure safe halfway around the world. And that was the unit I was in. The last 6 years I was there, I was the trainer of that unit. When I retired, I got out, and later, when it was declassified, I started teaching and developing non-military uses for the science.
And that's where I came in. At one point, I got to go to his class and learn it, because he does teach it to us civilians, and I can tell you that it works. I can definitely tell you that it works. So, Lyn, can you tell us how this does work, where anybody can just sit anywhere and see anything, anytime, space, history, future, now?
Well, how does it work?
Yeah, how does it
well.
work? Yes, it does.
Yeah. No,
if you can tell the listeners, that'd be great.
The mechanism of the, the information channel. How do you get the information that's actually somewhere around the world? We have no idea on that. We tend to think it's the collective consciousness, but they're coming up now with quantum entanglement and all these other things that are trying to explain it. What we found is that there are certain things that you can do that will open you up under your own control to information that's going on anywhere, or that went on, or that will go on at any time. And through the development of this science, which was created in the laboratory out in Stanford Research Institute, we can take soldiers or anyone, teach them the methodology of how to connect to their subconscious mind, and their subconscious mind seems to know all this information. How it knows it, we don't know, but we do know that it can bring soldiers home, it can bring missing kids home, it can, provide you with the information that you need to keep people from getting killed, and, to end wars.
And we know that you did a lot of things for us that you probably can't tell the stories about. But I can tell you guys firsthand that I've seen him do a couple things, and I've seen some of his older work, and this man is absolutely incredible. You can actually sit and see things in the future, the past, or right now. And what's great is he is able to teach you how to apply that. And what we want to do here at High Strangeness is we want to take, if you've ever wanted to know about something, let us know by going to the highstrangeness.com site and go to the CRV area and let us know if there's something you've ever wanted to know about. And at one point, we will take it to these guys, because Lyn is the head of PSI, and we're going to tell you a little bit about that too. And we're going to see if we can't figure out what it is you're looking for. We'll let Lyn decide which ones to look at. At that point, it's called a target. Now, we're going to do this a little bit later on today to show you how CRV works. So, Lyn, the applications of it, as you just said, like bringing people home, also, it can be as simple as, which car do I want to buy today? I'm looking at two different cars. Which one should I really buy? Which one's going to be the best? You can actually look into the future, right, and see in a year which car you have and if you're happy or not. Yeah,
that's right. Which means, of course, that you can make your decisions in such a way that you have a better future. Mm-hmm. What if you could go through life making the right decision every time? Life would be a whole lot better.
And this is where you can find your lost keys. You can find out maybe what happened to a relationship 20 years ago, or maybe where one of your old friends kind of moved away in high school, and you can kind of find possibly where they are, what state it is. But there's all sorts of other neat things too. And some of the neat things that Lyn has done that I think are cool is when you go to different targets, your body does not leave. You're sitting there in the stool or chair, wherever you are, but you do go visit places and you see places. You're describing things. Lyn has seen some really, really cool things along the way, and because he is so good, he can continue on. I'm there for little winks and little pieces at a time, and that's why you go and you learn how to do this and practice. But Lyn, tell us some of the cooler places you have been, your most favorite targets, things that you have viewed along the way.
Well, excuse me, there's a lot of different ones over the shoot, I was counting up, 20-something, almost 20 years now that I've been doing this.
Wow.
I
Well,
get the feeling,
you started when you were 7.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
The things that we did in the military, of course, were basically restricted to military targets. Because so many inventions and things are created for military purposes, we had some very interesting things. There was one, for lack of a better word, a death ray. It was sort of a particle beam weapon that they were trying to figure out, that our people were trying to figure out how it worked. And, it belonged to another country. And so anyway, they needed some information from inside the beam. And, of course, you couldn't stick any instruments or people in the beam because they would immediately be vaporized. And so they asked a remote viewer, they asked us to volunteer. And it sounded neat, so I volunteered to view the inside of the beam. Well, come to find out that time inside the beam is totally destroyed and just ripped to shreds. And the moment I mentally stepped into the beam, it was as though I could look forward and backward throughout my whole life and see every moment of my life. The minute I perceived it that way, it all came together, and I was me perceiving this beam hitting me, and it was an amazing thing that I won't spend time on because really there are no words to describe it. By the same token, I've stood mentally inside the beam at the linear accelerator at Stanford. Also, with one target, there comes a time in a target where it becomes so interesting that you forget the room around you, and all of your perception is so focused on this target that you can't tell you're not there. And it's like you are there. You're not, but it's like you are. And so, in a very real way, I've stood on the surface of Mars. And in fact, the information I brought back during that session was corroborated by flyovers, satellite flyovers. And sure enough, the information that I brought back and the sketches that I drew while I was standing there, they're there. And so this is a fascinating subject.
You also, for time, I want to get to some of the other cool things that I think are cool. You actually, and so people will know ways to apply this, but you also were taken to, I guess, you've seen after people have crossed over death-wise.
Oh, sure, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And you've seen, can you tell our listeners the different things you saw? Because they were testing things. They were testing this. They wanted to know what they could use it for and how it could be used. And of course, Lyn was a guinea pig, I guess, as well by doing all these targets, right?
If you're in the Army, you're a guinea pig. Yeah.
They didn't pay you enough for all that, did they?
Listen, I just wish they had paid me mileage for every place they sent.
Oh, my
One
goodness.
trip to Mars and back, I'd be set for life.
Your frequent flyer miles, exactly.
Yeah.
So how would you describe death? Because there's such an accuracy rate here, so it's very interesting to hear what he has to say here for those of you with your different beliefs about death.
Well, I was raised Baptist, and so I was always taught there's heaven and there's hell. And that there's no such thing as reincarnation, and there's no such thing as absolute death where there's nothing left, and there's no such thing as ghost and all this other stuff. And in the 60 some odd sessions where they had me follow a person through death into what comes afterwards, I found that there does seem to be reincarnation. There does seem to be just annihilation, where there's nothing left of a person. There does seem to be a heaven, and there does seem to be a hell. Excuse me. And the heaven that I experienced, I would drag those sessions out as long as I could just to stay there. It was some of the most wonderful experiences I've ever had.
It was heaven.
The souls that would go into hell within like 1/100th of a second. There was such horror that I would be thrown out of the session and wind up having nightmares for a month afterwards. I can give this advice to people: don't go there. I've heard people take a drink or whatever and laugh and say, "Yeah, I'm sure I'm going to hell for this." If they only knew what they were talking about, if they could experience for 1/100th of a second, there would be a totally different attitude toward it. It's not a place you want to go.
Is there any way you can describe that to us?
Absolute horror, absolute terror. Waking up at night for a solid month with night terrors, just from a, like I say, a 1/100th of a second brush with it. The horror is indescribable. So no, I guess I can't describe it.
Okay.
You'd have to experience it.
So, but then how did you know about the reincarnation?
Well, on those people, all of a sudden, I would be accessing one person, and then something would happen, a car wreck or something. They knew the way that each person died, that they gave me as a as a target. And so there would be the experience of the dying, which is not all that pleasant either. And then all of a sudden, well, like this one was a foreign person, because we were only allowed by Congress to spy on foreigners, not U.S. citizens. But this one, all of a sudden, wound up as a kid in like a cowboy outfit, and his parents were taking pictures of him, and it was a sunny day and all that. Come to find out, you tend to reincarnate into a person who is around 11 or 12, which I guess is the reason so many different cultures have that age as a, coming of age time mark in your life.
Right. They always have a big celebration to that.
Yeah. And there were several of the people that were suddenly 12-year-old kids.
I know that one of the other sessions that you did was, and I guess Lyn is very good at, or was very good at being able to mentally access people, which is something he never recommends.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Lyn's incredible. He's
too much information. You make it more than you want to find out about a person.
Oh, it was incredible. When I had first asked you about that, I thought, well, what do you see? What is so bad? And you were saying, you see their toothpaste, you see their hemorrhoid oil, you see everything. And I thought, ooh, yeah, you're right.
All their dirty little secrets. And
right.
Not,
I don't
what you want to do.
Right. But apparently, what happens is you never know what the target is you're supposed to go see. You have no idea what it is that they want you to look at. Somebody, they will say something like, let's say they wanted to know where Saddam Hussein was at the time. They would ask Lyn to see this, but yet Lyn doesn't know the question at all. Okay, so
that's right.
Yes.
Anytime you tell the viewer what the target is, their logical mind kicks in, and their imagination and all that, and all you get is pollution.
Yep.
And so, like, anytime you give somebody a target, you may say, let's say if you're working a project, they'll come to the viewer and they'll say, this is project number 9, question 3, what's the answer? And that's all you get to find out.
Well, the thing is, because Lyn was so good, and he was having to look into the bad guys' eyes or through their eyes to see what was going on, what they were thinking, what they were going to do next, stay on top of it. These are military spies.
Oh, yeah.
Well, one time, I guess Lyn got on to somebody, and something good happened from that. Do you know what I'm leading up to, Lyn?
Yeah, I do. That was a changing point in my life, in fact. They would ask us to do personality profiles on foreign leaders and military people and such as that. And so they took me over one day, and I had been in the minds of Saddam Hussein and I mean all kinds of bad guys and everything, and it was just wearing on me. And so I told them, I said, look, don't, give me Bozo the Clown or Mother Teresa or something like that. I've had it, And so about 2 weeks later, we went over and they said, well, this is a personality assessment. You have to access a person mentally. And I thought, well, okay, here goes again. And the minute I accessed this person, I said, whatever evil you think this guy did, he didn't do it. And they said, okay, well, just go ahead and give us a standard personality assessment. And the session continued on. They last about an hour each. And the session continued on. And by the end of the session, I was just glowing. I had never met anybody like this before in my entire life. And so when we finished, they unsealed the envelope that had the target page in it. And there, instead of a regular target, our director had written the word Jesus. And, excuse me, we have 60-mile-an-hour wind blowing sand here in Alamogordo today, and so...
Oh, okay.
So, this session, in this session, I had one of those moments when you're so focused that you cannot tell that you're in a room doing a session. You cannot tell that you're not standing right there at the target. And so in a very real way, I was able to actually meet the real Jesus. And several years later, one of the other remote viewing schools, the head of it said, you met Jesus? Well, what did he say? What did he tell you to do? And the only answer I could give was, standing there in his presence, he didn't have to say anything. I suddenly knew him, but I also knew myself. I knew what I should and shouldn't do. I knew what I am and what I've never managed to be. And it just, it changed my life. That one meeting changed my life. And I actually got 2 personality assessments that day, Jesus's and my own.
Oh, you did.
All of a sudden, I knew where all of the religion and Christianity and everything else that I had built up over my life was right and was wrong. Knew what parts of my own belief system were just pure garbage and so on. And so, no, it was a life-changing event.
Well, what happened? You forgot it all, Lyn. What's going on? It's all gone.
I know. Well, I met this woman named Connie.
Hey.
Willis.
Hey.
She's a bad influence on everybody.
Oh, no. Hey, do me a favor before we go on to doing a target and showing the application of controlled remote viewing. Tell me really quickly how you got involved in this, and also, is the military still into this, or did they wrap it up?
I got into this. If you've seen the movie The Men Who Stare at Goats, I got very angry one day when I was working at the field station in Augsburg, Germany, and started blowing out computers. And
wait a minute, what?
Finally, I'm sorry?
You started getting mad and you started blowing out computers. What are you talking about?
Yeah, computers started failing all over the place. And
how's that?
When I tend to get mad, things tend to happen. This has been something that's been a problem ever since I was a young kid. You know, the poltergeist kids?
Yeah.
Where things fly off shelves and all that. Well, I was one of those. And, of course, the ones that get all of the press action is the ones who are mentally disturbed and all that. But I can tell you, that happens with a lot of kids who are not mentally disturbed, who are just growing up and flexing their, I guess you would say, psychic muscles. And so things start happening. And
is that PK?
Generally it scares them, and it goes away.
Are we talking PK?
Yeah.
Okay.
PK, psychokinesis, yeah.
Okay.
Mind over matter, I guess you could call it. But anyway, I was one of those, and back when I was a kid, these things started happening, and I thought it was neat, and so I started playing with it, seeing how I could make it happen and all. And due to an event that takes a long time to explain, the father of this cute little redheaded girl I was trying to impress with it.
Oh, there's always a little redheaded girl.
Oh, isn't there?
Yes,
I tell you,
Charlie Brown.
That way, isn't it? He asked me to show him, and when I did, he and three of his deacons just slammed me down onto the sidewalk with my head buried on the sidewalk, screaming and yelling for the devil to come out of me and release this poor child and all that. Well, it scared me to the point where from then on I tried to hide it. But whenever I get really, truly angry, it comes out and things still happen. And anyway, one day I was flaming angry at the field station, and the computers started going out. Well, anyway, this got back to a General Stubblebine, who was looking for, he had gotten the information about the Russians and their effort, and so he was looking to put together a team who could blow out enemy computers and hopefully learn how to control the information within them instead of blowing them out, so that we could make their missiles turn around and go back at them and things like that. So anyway, just like in the movie, he called me into his office one day and he said, "Did you kill my computers with your mind?" And I just kind of heard myself say, "Yes, sir, I did." I knew that if I'd lied about it, and that if I told the truth, my great-grandkids would still be paying for computers. But I said, "Yes, sir, I did." And this grin came across his face, and he said, "Far effing out, have I ever got a job for you?" And he brought me back to Washington, D.C. to begin this unit. Well, Congress had certain fears about this. Congress back in the 60s had gotten caught doing mind control experiments, and they didn't want to get caught doing anything like that again. So they said no. And so I was back in D.C., and he had nothing to do with me, so he took me by the remote viewing unit and put me into the remote viewing unit, and that's where I stayed the rest of my military career.
Excellent. So happy that occurred, because we have learned so much since then. And do you think the project is still going on? Well, I know it ended, but, well,
it ended 7 times that I know of.
Okay.
And people ask me, is it still going on? I really hope it is, because we saved a lot of lives. We did a lot of good for the nation and for humanity, actually. And the government would be stupid not to have a project like this going still. And so that changes the question to whether or not our government ever does anything stupid.
And your answer?
Well, I know they do. So, when you retire, they quit telling you things. And so I have no idea whether they still have a unit or not.
Oh, well, I'm certainly hoping they do, because I know what you have taught me and what you know yourself. I mean, what you know, how much are you even able to teach people like me? What percentage?
Oh, more than most people are able to learn.
And are you talking like 50% of what you knew, or?
No, Connie, I'm telling you, practice.
Oh, no. See, I'll tell you what, you guys, it's so interesting that I can't even imagine what they did that Lyn could not tell us or teach us. So.
Yeah, we did some
absolutely amazing,
extremely amazing things. Yeah.
Yeah, and so if you knew that much back then and you did that much, I can't imagine what they may be doing now. So you're listening to High Strangeness Radio. I'm Connie Willis. We're talking with Lyn Buchanan, one of the Psychic Spies, if I can say that, with the military group alone. Well, not too long ago. I don't want to say that, but if you'd like to talk with him, the number to call is 1-800-STRANGE, 1-800-STRANGE. And check out the website at highstrangeness.com, and you can see a link that goes to Lyn Buchanan's information, as well as how you can take classes and learn how to do it yourself. I've done it. I absolutely would endorse it highly for you guys to do that. You'll be amazed. You'll be a different person because you're going to be able to do different things in your life and really, really open up kind of what people call the third eye. I guess we can say that too. But anyway, we'll be right back, and we're going to show you how we can actually use remote viewing to apply to life. We've got a question coming up, so stick around with us. High Strangeness with Connie Willis. Okay, Lyn, I want to keep it short, so I just kind of kept it short for you.
I want to try something here. I think
Okay.
I have a cough button, so I'm going to push the button and cough, and then push the button again to turn it back on. So tell me if I cough in your ear.
No.
Okay. Good. So I have a cough button here. Okay.
No.
Are you there?
I heard you. I heard you cough. I was kidding.
Oh, you did hear me cough?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry about that. Okay, I don't.
That's okay.
Yeah. So I don't have a cough button.
Right. So.